Yes, sir. We did it.
Hey guys, this is the conservative speaking. It's been a long time since I've been on YouTube. I'm so happy to be here, and we're actually 2 weeks separated from the election. The election that put the great white hope Donald Trump right back in office. Yes, yes, sir. Donald Trump will be the first president since Grover Cleveland back in 1893 to win two non consecutive terms. So Trump will be the 45th and the 47th president of the United States. And we all knew that this was going to happen. I mean, this was a foregone conclusion. Aside from any election shenanigans, Donald Trump was the clear winner. Trump wins by a landslide. And that is exactly what happened. Despite the fact that the fake news mafia like CNN, MSDNC, NBC, ABC, CBS, and even Fox News stating that the election was going to be a dead heat. It was going to be so close. Trump and Harris are are in a tie. And if you look at the way that these two ran their their campaigns, uh, they couldn't be any more polar opposites from one another. One ran their campaign successfully. I would even say going as far as trolling the other campaigner. That would be the great white hope, Donald Trump. And then you had the other one that ran a campaign so bad that you were hoping that a 10-year-old will come in and save the day. I mean, the way that Kamala Harris ran her campaign, a 10-year-old could have ran a better campaign than she could. And although I don't think the results would have changed, but Kamala could have made this a much more competitive campaign, or much more competitive election, if she were to, excuse me, if she were to actually give the people what they want. And the very thing that the people wanted was, where are you going to be able to hold yourself accountable to the 4 dismal years under her and the Biden administration, and come up with new solutions that will convince the people that they should be able to confidently place their vote with Kamala Harris. Unfortunately, she was not able to do that. She wasn't able to do that at all. Uh, every time they would ask her a question, she would sidestep the question. She would speak in ambiguity, and it could work if she has the articulation to do so. But she's no Barack Obama. Now, with Barack Obama, Obama was able to be able to speak with such articulation that he was able to mask his true scheme for the country. Because while everyone was focused on Barack Obama being articulate, personal, personable, having great charisma, they tend to forget that he was a Democrat, and a far left leaning liberal. I would even go as far as saying that this man was a progressive. People tend to forget that Barack Obama was was the one that, when in office, gave more rights to homosexuals and illegal aliens than he did to the American people. But because Barack Obama was able to speak with, but because Obama was able to be articulate in his message, because he was charismatic, and because he spoke with such conviction, people were able to buy into his message. Well, unfortunately, Kamala Harris had none of that. So for Kamala, it would have been in her best interest to just be honest. But Kamala Harris is your quintessential robotic politician. She's the same. She is the person that speaks in rendition. She's the type of person that will speak in the same repetitive word salad and expecting the American people to just buy into what she's saying just because she said it. And the people were not buying it. All right. The fact that Kamala Harris went on this entire campaign that her ethnicity was black, even though she was Indian, it wasn't the people couldn't resonate with that, especially the blacks. And she really, really needed the blacks to come out and vote for her, particularly black men. And the black men did not show out for her because the black men found her to be phony. And one thing about the blacks, if you want their vote, all right, if you want their confident vote, you have to be genuine. And any type of if the blacks find out at any time that you are not authentic, they will completely tune you out. Doesn't matter what you have, it doesn't matter what you say, it doesn't matter who you bring out to try to convince them. The blacks are very skeptical to people that are not authentic. All right. Even if they don't like who you are, they can at least respect that you stand on what you say. You say what you mean and you mean what you say. And Kamala Harris was the type of person that will put on an act in order to pander for votes. And the blacks seen right through her like a see-through dress. And they immediately repudiated her, as they should have. So for Kamala Harris, the fact that she lost by a landslide, which I wasn't surprised by, it just goes to show you. Oh, and not to mention, she also lost the popular vote as well. So the people that were skeptical and said, okay, well, Trump may have certain people on their side, but Kamala still won the popular vote, meaning that there's still a vast majority of people who do not support Donald Trump. Well, guess what? Trump won the popular vote as well. So in order for you to win the popular vote, an overwhelmingly amount of Americans have to be able to stand by your message and repudiate the other. And that's exactly what they did. All right. They rejected the Biden-Harris failed policies, and they rejected another 4 years of what would have been the Biden-Harris policy, but a lot worse, because Kamala Harris is a progressive. She is a far left leaning liberal, and she would have wrecked the country way farther than Joe Biden did. For example, take a look at her campaign. Just look at the way that she managed her campaign financially. She spent over $1 billion, 1.3 to be exact, and she still owes $20 million. How do you blow through $1 million? $1 million. How do you blow through $1 billion with a B? Billion. How do you blow through $1 billion in 3 months and still owe $20 million? And then still try to convince the people that you are the candidate that they should vote for to be the next president. This woman couldn't even manage. She couldn't even manage her own campaign budget. And this is the woman that could have potentially been voted in to manage the U.S. economy. We know exactly what would have happened had she had access to the economy. She would have tanked it. We wouldn't have been able to afford to buy anything. And all the countries will take advantage of us, and they will all laugh at us. We will no longer have a country. Every single state would have turned into a ghetto. I promise you. They would have flooded this country with so many illegals, and every other state would have been a nigger state. There would have been a lot of niggerish things occurring. And so, because of that, the American people who proved that they had more common sense than radical knowledge, they came out in force. We came out in droves and we voted the Great White Hope back in office. Now, this should have never happened in the first place. The Great White Hope, Donald Trump, should have won the 2020 election, but we knew there were a lot of shenanigans that happened. Joe Biden happened to receive 20 million votes, receiving the most votes ever. I mean, he received 20 million more than Barack Obama back in 2008 when he won. I believe Obama had about 65 million votes, and Obama won by a landslide back in 2008. And then Obama scored 69 million votes in 2012. You mean to tell me that Joe Biden received uh 20 close to more than double digit the amount of votes than Barack Obama did? And Barack Obama is way more popular than Joe Biden. That's what you're trying to tell me? So, what happened to the 20 million votes that Kamala Harris needed in order for her to win? Well, unfortunately, there wasn't any ballot harvesting this time around. You see, unlike 2020, people actually had to come out and vote in 2024. So there were no more of that cheating stuff. So dead people couldn't vote for Kamala Harris. All right. I'm sorry. Illegals couldn't vote for Kamala. I'm sorry. Unregistered people could no longer vote for Kamala. So what 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 was able to what Joe Biden was able to use to his advantage in 2020, Kamala couldn't use it in 2024. And because of that, the right people voted, and the right people voted for the right man, the great white hope, Donald Trump, which will make America great again, because America is such in a turmoil. In the latest news, I believe this occurred on Sunday. On Sunday, Joe Biden gave the authorization to allow Ukraine to use long-range missiles to attack Russia. So Joe Biden gave the okay to Mark Zelensky to use our long-range missiles to attack Russia. Now, all this is going to do is to provoke Russia into wanting to attack us. Not to mention, this is going to prolong the war. And I believe Joe Biden did this to try to undermine Trump's legacy into wanting to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. Because now the main conflict is going to be between Russia and the United States. So there's a good chance that we can engage in a World War III with Russia. And that is bad news, because Russia has the same weapons that can blow us off the planet of the earth. Just like we have the same Russians to blow them off of the planet of the earth. And you can thank the great white dope Joe Biden for doing so. And Joe Biden knows what he's doing. I mean, obviously, Joe Biden is senile. He's losing it. But with the little bit of marbles that he has, he's trying to do everything he can to undermine Donald Trump. All right. The same way that he undermined Trump when he undid his immigration policy, allowing all of these illegals to come in. This man hates America. It's even beyond Joe Biden hating Trump. He hates America. This man really hates America and is willing to put America in a compromising position. And I know Joe Biden did this to say, okay, so now I gave you an obstacle. Now try to end the war now. But somehow, some way, the great white hope Donald Trump will put an end to all of this. Trust me. He'll put an end to all the wars. Zelensky will no longer get rich off of us. He'll put an end to all the fighting. because he knows that that our sovereignty is at stake, and he'll do everything he can to protect our sovereignty. And listen, everybody wants to paint Vladimir Putin as this bad guy. Oh, the big bad wolf, Vladimir Putin. Putin is doing the same thing that we would do if we were under attack by a bordering country. We would do the same thing. All right. What the Great White Hope Donald Trump needs to do is when he comes in, he really needs to distance himself from NATO. If he can, just get out of the whole NATO membership. We don't need to be a part of NATO. They don't need our money, and we don't need their issues because all they're doing is being antagonists and starting all of these wars. They are the instigators to all of the conflicts that are happening in the world. We don't need their bullshit. So therefore, we do not need NATO. All right. Uh, in addition, when the Great White Hope comes in, he will also end the war between the Middle East, between Israel and Hamas and Lebanon. He'll put an end to all of that because Donald Trump, like the rest of the world, wants peace. We don't want to go to war with anyone. We want peace. Unlike the war hogs in Washington that are looking to bank on every single time we purchase and use a missile to kill innocent people. Because keep in mind, there are far more innocent people that are being killed in war than the enemies abroad. Make no mistake about it. But try to tell the people in Washington that they can care less. All right. If you're not behind Ukraine, you are anti-American and 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 on. It just the inflammatory comments are just infinite among the establishment. But don't worry, we all knew that Donald Trump was never ever a threat to democracy, despite what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were stating. Because if Donald Trump was a proverbial threat to democracy, then you wouldn't engage in a peaceful transfer of power to a person that you deem to be a proverbial threat to democracy. You just wouldn't do it. Not to mention you wouldn't engage in a peaceful transfer of power to a person that you deem to be Hitler. That's something that Kamala has stated when she said that Donald Trump wanted generals that were Hitler like, stating that Donald Trump is Hitler. So it's all a lie. What the truth of the matter is that Donald Trump is a proverbial threat to the deep state. That's what it really comes down to. And this is the reason why they did everything that they could to prevent Donald Trump from becoming president, including placing bogus charges on him from New York and Georgia about the election interference and and the whole Stormy Daniels hush money incident, the very things that people that that politicians tend to ignore every single time. With Donald Trump, it's an issue. Why? Because they know that Donald Trump is the main threat to the very thing that they are continuing to try to project upon the world. And that is their very own interest. And they know Trump is going to put an end to that. Okay. There's a reason why a lot of the politicians that are currently sitting in Washington are multi-millionaires despite their salaries being about six figures a year, because they have manipulated the market with their own laws. They have cut side deals uh, at the expense of the taxpayers. And in return, they are getting kickbacks that are in the millions. And they know that Donald Trump will put an end to all of that. And that is the reason why Donald Trump is a main threat to them. Look at all the people that were crying. They were all people of the deep state. All of them, the career politicians on both sides, Republican and Democrats. They are afraid that this man is back in office because they know that Donald Trump is going to trim the fat. And this time he's brought about people, Elon Musk, Vivan Ramaswamy. He's brought in people that are really going to cut out the waste in government. And the country is going to get back to being a functional country again. And I cannot wait for that. I cannot wait for gas prices to be lower. I cannot wait for groceries to be lower. I cannot wait for the illegal aliens to disperse from our country. You know, Donald Trump is not playing around. He even stated that he will get the military involved to get these gualas out of our country, and I cannot wait for it. I'm looking forward to it. So stay tuned, guys. I got my channel back, and I'm glad to see you guys back. And with that being said, this is The Conservative. I'm signing out. The Great White Hope! The Great White Hope! The Great White Hope! The Great White Hope! He's back! Amazing!